It was a cold, dark night in the world of Minecraft. The lack of sunlight allowed many dangerous creatures to come out. Pale green zombies, living skeletons, leg-sized spiders, and armless explosive creepers hide in the nearby woods during the day. At night, they show themselves. People usually aren't brave enough to face monsters and just hit the hay early. Get some, spiders! Except for one. A knight in shining iron armor ran around the forest, slashing down the monsters in his wake. A creeper was about to detonate behind him, but with acute hearing, he stabbed it without even looking back. His diamond sword had a unique black trim compared to the standard diamond blade with a wooden hilt. This adventurer is named Finn. He stands at 2.2 blocks tall and 2 blocks wide, with short brown hair, warm light skin, and dark cyan eyes. His reputation as a fierce warrior leaves some on edge around him. But really, aside from monsters, he means no harm. Once the monsters cleared, Finn sheathed his sword and continued to walk back home. He was just out gathering flowers and got a little bit lost, thus his foray with the monsters. Luckily, somebody nearby had a map of the area, and after a quick visit, he borrowed it for the time being. He would finally make it back. However, a group of raiders had another idea. A quick crossbow shot hit his chestplate. He flinched a little, despite knowing that the arrow wouldn't pierce the armor, then turned to face the shooter, a gray-skinned guy with a long nose and what appeared to be hunting armor. Quite fitting for his profession. Finn recognized them immediately. Pillagers. Little bandits with a knack for breaking and entering, stealing anything useful they get their hands on, and he had quite the treasures. So he pulled out his bow, a fine piece of artillery, and pulled a steelhead arrow out of his quiver. He drew the arrow back, closed his left eye, and fired, the projectile hitting the pillager at sonic speed. Unlike sturdy iron armor, hunting armor doesn't offer much protection from attackers, so the pillager died easily with a shot to the heart. There were 4 left, and they all chose to flee, screaming for their lives and even bumping into each other. Cowards, he muttered. Finally, the dark forest he was traveling in ended. He was home. Finn lived in a nice cottage just outside the woods, defended by fences and lit up eternally by burning torches on wooden poles. His house utilized the darkened oak wood inside the forest and the mud bricks he had crafted from a foray into a mangrove swamp. With monsters' incapability of breaking stuff, it defended his house quite well, since spiders were too cowardly to enter. His phone began to buzz. When he pulled it out, he was delighted by the news it brung. Minecraft Live was starting soon, and that meant his favorite game show would be starting. And by his favorite game show, he means to compete in. Minerware is a game show that takes place very far from his house. Many people have competed. Only one can win. As a 3-year champion, he proved to be a very competitive guy with a lot of skill, mostly at the combat games. As for trivia, he's less good at those, but he's pretty skilled in getting the dubs. Finn would need to prepare, bring his handy diamond sword in case of monster attacks. Those happen quite often at Minerware. Without his shining iron armor, he'd be less protective, of course, but for the sake of fairness, players wouldn't be allowed to bring their own armor. An indigo t-shirt and dark purple pants would do just fine, and he'd need mine coins, at least about 2,000 in order to enter. But if he did good competition and beat everyone else, he'd profit big time. The grand prize is 10,000 mine coins. The next morning, after a good night's sleep, he packed everything he'd need and set out. A great week of festivities was about to begin.